I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, during the COVID-19 lockdown, I've been talking with the members on my selling team, as well as a number of other realtors, colleagues of mine. We've been talking about, how have things been going in the market? What have you been doing? What were you doing during the lockdown? And now that we've moved out of the lockdown, we're listing properties again, selling properties. What are some of the things that you're doing different? How are you finding the market? How are you selling these homes? What are buyers asking for, that kind of thing. So I wanted to do a blog here on, I strongly think that, this COVID-19 pandemic is going to forever change how realtors market and sell real estate. And the market is always evolving. How I sold homes 10 years ago is night and day compared to how I sell homes now. And real estate, it continues to get more and more complicated. I mean, I look back at what the contract to purchase and sale looked at like 10 years ago. And it is nothing compared to what it looks like now. The amount of paperwork has probably tripled in the last 10 years. Real estate has gotten way more complicated. And that's why I laugh when I hear people say, oh, you can sell your home on your own. You don't need a realtor. Just hire a lawyer and they can do all that. And these realtors, they don't earn their pay. And I couldn't be further from the truth. Sure, you can sell your home on your own if you want. You're not going to get top dollar for it. You're probably going to leave $50K on the table all day. So, hey, why not pay me the 20? You're still going to net another $30,000 more, but hey, that's up to you. But let me go through just some of the things and how real estate marketing is going to change moving forward. So as people know, open houses right now are not allowed. And I don't think open houses are coming back anytime soon here. Maybe later this year, early next year. But it's an interesting thing with open houses, and I've discussed this many times with my colleagues and some of my team members. How we're doing it now, and I've always ran open houses in the past. But open houses going forward are probably going to be pretty rare. I will still be using them once we're allowed to in certain circumstances. I think when the market, let's say, switches to a strong seller's market again, which it will, it's only a matter of time, it's more balanced right now. But markets go from seller's markets to balanced markets to buyer's markets. They're continuously shifting in and out. But of course, when a market gets ultra hot like it did, let's say back in 2014, 2015, 2016, and you were doing holdbacks on homes where you're listing them, showing them for a week, and then doing offers. Open houses are fantastic in those type of markets because you allow a 2-hour window on a Saturday and Sunday and get as many people through the home, and then look at offers the following week. When the markets are more balanced, open houses don't quite have the same impact. Now, what I've been doing since we started the market back up again in early May, I'm still posting first showings, Saturday and Sunday 2 to 4, but now it's by appointment only. You can't just show up. The realtor has to call me. I have to send them a COVID-19 waiver form that the buyer and the realtor have to sign before they enter the home. But in a lot of ways, this is a much better way to go for me as a listing realtor, because now the listing or the buying realtor has to escort his clients through the house, and that's what you want. So often at open houses, you're always going to get a lot of tire kickers, and there's nothing wrong with that. Expose the property to as many people as you can. But oftentimes, realtors are sending their clients through without them or her present. This way, of course, you've got to have the realtor present. Now, I make the odd exception. A realtor will call me and say, hey, Owen, I've got my own showings on that day. Do you mind if I send my clients through? I'll sign the COVID waiver. Here's their names. No problem. Full cooperation. I'm going to work with any realtors in that respect. But for the most part, now and going forward, I think throughout the year, it's going to be showings on Saturday, Sunday, maybe a sneak peek. I do for my new listings, I'll do a sneak peek on a Thursday afternoon from 4 to 5:30, but it's by appointment only. You have to book a time, and the realtor in most cases is going to be with their buyers, which is a much more powerful showing when the realtor is there as well. But other things that I've been using way before the pandemic, HD video tours, virtual reality tours I've been using. I think video tours are going to be way more prominent going forward. If you've seen my YouTube channel here, I don't promote my listings all that much, but I have been kind of posting some 45-second edited video clips of some of my new listings because I've had some really nice homes, including a pretty spectacular Shaughnessy mansion. So I'm doing aerial drone footage now of these homes and then full HD video tours. Another area that I've been using a lot here, and I'm finally now got it perfected, I'm doing virtual staging. And if you go to my website now, you can have a look at it. I've got a new listing on Alberni Street. Let's see, I had another one on Homer Street that I listed a while back that was virtually staged. And virtual staging has been around for a while, but it's only, in my opinion, been really perfected the last 6 to 8 months or so. I've gone through a number of virtual staging companies and I've had mixed results. Now, and I'm not going to reveal my company, sorry if realtors want to ask me, but I'm using a company in Brazil now that my wife has spent a lot of time on, trial and error, working with different companies. But I've got a company now in Brazil that does the virtual staging. We get the photos professionally done of the unit vacant, and then we send the raw photos down, email them down to this company in Brazil, and then they'll stage the home. Have a look at some of the ones on my homepage here. That Alberni Street one, if it's still up there when I post this video, you're not going to notice the difference. People do not know these are virtually staged. That's how good they've gotten. What they were doing a few years ago, and I got caught into this too. You would give them a 1-bedroom condo or a 2-bedroom condo, and these virtual staging companies would put, let's say it's a $600,000 condo, they would put $100,000 worth of high-end furniture in there, and it just didn't look real. The way it sat in the pictures, you could tell that it was just kind of overlapped over the photo. Now, the technology, I guess, has gotten a lot better. It does not look like that at all. But the best virtual staging companies don't go over the top. In other words, if it's a $625,000 condo, they put in some nice furniture, some artwork on the walls, but then the furniture is nice, but it suits the unit, and you can pick hundreds of different styles. You can go like a mid-century modern, you can go more traditional. I kind of leave it to the guys there to give me some ideas on, kind of the look we want to go for. But they'll just do little things like a kitchen table with 2 chairs of a certain style and then 2 chairs of a different style. They'll put books and reading glasses and glass of drinking water. It's just incredible now, the virtual staging. And moving forward, I do also a lot of actual staging, real furniture staging with some of my higher end detached homes mostly. And I think that will never go out of favor. I've got a couple of homes listed right now that we've got staged with actual furniture. But moving forward, I think for condos, this virtual staging is probably going to be the way to go, because physical staging is expensive. You got to move the furniture in, move it out. You're paying, $3,000 or $4,000 for the first month, depending on the size of the home. It can be expensive. I've got a home staged right now on Vancouver West Side. It's an incredible home, and the staging was beautiful on it. But it's about $6,000, $7,000 a month to rent this furniture. Now, it's an expensive home, but staging is not cheap. But virtual staging, I think, is going to be the way of the future, especially if you do it right. I still see a lot of these condos in Vancouver virtually staged that just look fake. It doesn't look good. You got to pick the right virtual stager. A couple other things here. Real estate, getting back to, is incredibly complicated. I talked to my dad, who's been a realtor. He started selling Kitsilano detached homes in the mid-1950s. You heard right. Mid-1950s is when my dad started in Vancouver real estate. Back then, the contract to purchase and sell, to buy or sell a house, was 2 pages long. It was quick, took a signature and an initial, and you were done. Now the contract to purchase and sale, our contract to purchase, is about 12 pages long. But when you add in all the waivers, the addendums, the disclosure statements, the FinTrack, we're easily getting up to 30, 40 pages now. And it is a minefield. A couple of years ago, I would have said that some of the major things when you're a buyer, or if you're a realtor, that you're focusing on is things like depreciation reports. You're writing contracts with clauses in there and subject clauses. Those are still super important. But now, I tell you, one of the most important things now as a realtor, buying or listing, is the insurance that's on the strata and the deductibles. I've done several blogs already this year on this, and stay tuned for more. I was just in a workshop here a couple of days ago on the insurance crisis, and it is scary. I mean, when you're listing a home or when you're buying a home, you want to get a copy of the strata's insurance declaration. That's going to show you what the water deductibles are, because that's the important one. You also want to go one step further and find out what the annual policy is. They don't disclose that on the declaration. You have to find that out going through the financials, or talking to the listing realtor, or talking to the property manager. So I can tell you, and you want to find out when the expiry date is on these policies. So these strata insurance policies are good for 1 year. So you want to find out what the current deductible is, but more importantly, when does the policy expire? Now, if they just renewed it, hey, and you've got a $50,000 deductible, hey, you're sitting pretty for at least a year, and you can't do much after that. It's at the whim of whatever happens with claims or overall rates. But I can tell you, if you've got a $50,000 deductible on a policy that's coming up for renewal here in the next couple of months, I can almost guarantee that you can expect that deductible to double, if not triple. I think it's customary now downtown that the water deductibles are now all pretty much at 100, but many are at 100, 150, even $250,000 water deductibles. They are going up dramatically. I've done a bunch of blogs on it, how the strata is putting the onus onto the owner for the insurance and taking it off the strata. But if you've got a policy, and let's say the strata is paying $150,000 annually to cover the entire strata, and if that policy comes up for renewal in the next couple of months, you also better allow, even though they will not tell you what it's going to renew at until just prior, in a lot of cases maybe a week prior to the renewal now. But you can expect that policy to at least double. If it's been almost a year since they've renewed the insurance and they're paying $150, expect that to go to $300. Allow for it. And you have to dig a little deeper here on this stuff and make some phone calls. But the insurance now, 2 years ago, it wasn't even on the radar. You wanted to check the insurance, but it wasn't a huge concern. Now it is. In my opinion now, insurance is probably the most important thing now with me buying and selling real estate. It's the first thing I ask. Used to be depreciation reports and the engineer report and that kind of thing. Now it's insurance. But the policy, or the process of buying and selling real estate is so much more complicated now. I mean, on the contract of purchase and sale now, both the buyer and seller have to declare their citizenship for tax purposes. That has to be declared. You've got the Vancouver empty homes tax. You've got the BC spec tax. You want to make sure you get copies of those declarations before you remove subjects. Or if I'm a listing realtor, I'm getting those from my seller before I list it, because you need to have that stuff. You also want to be writing in clauses, if you're buying a property, to get a hold of those declarations, to make sure that the seller has either declared it as a principal residence, or if it was a tenanted property, that they've declared that as a tenanted property and it's been exempt for that tax year, because that can come back on you. Vancouver empty homes tax, remember, does not run with the owner, it runs with the property. So if you don't get those declarations and that previous seller is not filed properly, you could get a letter 2 years from now saying, hey, you owe the city of Vancouver $8,000 for Vancouver empty homes tax. You need to get those declarations. Property disclosure statement, of course, you got to read. The engineer's reports, the depreciation report. Real estate has gotten so much more complicated. Tenanted properties, absolute minefield. I've done many blogs on buying and selling tenanted properties. You got to be extremely careful if you are going to buy a tenanted property. You want to get a mutual agreement to end tenancy in there, or if you're assuming a tenant, you better do your homework. I've done many blogs on tenanted properties. It's just gotten so much more complicated now, the buying and selling process. And I think, going forward, it's probably going to be more of the same. They just keep adding kind of more and more layers of complication into buying and selling a home. But and that's why you want to be hiring an experienced realtor. If you're buying, for sure, and if you're selling, you definitely want to be too. It just keeps getting more complicated. And I think the future of selling real estate, COVID-19 is going to change it forever. I think you're going to see a lot more video tours, virtual staging. I think open houses will come back, but I think a lot of realtors, including myself, are probably going to limit the actual public open houses. I'll give a window on a weekend to show, but it's going to be by appointment only as opposed to just hoarding everyone through. The hoarding everyone through and public ones will come back when we get into a very white-hot seller's market, because that's the only way you're going to get enough people through is just a public open. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.